Every man is born free, but most die in chains. Not chains of iron. No, those are easy to see, easy to break. The real shackles are invisible, built from fear, forged by belief, tightened by years of mental slavery. And the cruelest part, most people will never even know they're wearing them. They'll walk through life believing the lie that life happens to them, that greatness is reserved for the chosen, that wealth is a matter of luck, not law, that purpose is a privilege, not a birthright. They wait for opportunity, pray for luck, but never train their mind to command reality. And so they serve. They serve their habits. They serve their doubts. They serve the system. They become slaves to limitation because no one ever taught them this one truth. You were born with the ability to think, and that is the seed of freedom. When Napoleon Hill sat across from the titans of wealth, Carnegie, Ford, Edison, he didn't just ask what they did. He studied how they thought. And what he discovered is something the world still refuses to teach. Riches are not earned with your hands. They are created with your mind. Not just money, freedom, fulfillment, power, purpose. It all begins with thought. Every fortune begins in the unseen world of belief, clarity, and burning desire. Before the mansion stood, the blueprint existed. Before the company launched, the vision consumed someone. Before the man became powerful, he became precise in thought. The slave mind waits to be told what's possible. The millionaire mind decides. The slave fears failure and clings to comfort. The millionaire invites discomfort and builds courage like a muscle. The slave blames circumstances. The millionaire engineers destiny. There is no magic in money. The money is just the reward for the mindset. But the truth is, most people are mentally broke before they're ever financially broke. They've given up ownership of the one thing no one can take, their thoughts. And so the chains tighten, one decision at a time, one excuse at a time, one maybe later at a time. But the millionaires, the real ones, the ones who built empires from dust, they understood that the war is won or lost in the 6 inches between your ears. They didn't start with resources, they started with a decision. Henry Ford was told he was crazy. His own engineers laughed in his face when he demanded a V8 engine. They said it couldn't be done. He said, "Build it anyway." That's the mind of a king, the mind of someone who does not serve doubt. That is the mind that bends reality to vision. Think like a millionaire, or live like a slave, because every thought you tolerate either builds your future or buries it. Every day you wake up believing you're just average, you're digging the grave of your own potential. This world will try to buy your mind cheap. It will feed you mediocrity disguised as normalcy. It will reward conformity, celebrate distraction, and convince you that sacrifice is pain. But millionaires, they sacrifice pleasure to buy freedom. They endure pain to purchase power. They trade now for forever. They know that the world was never theirs to fit into. It was theirs to shape. So the question is not, will I succeed? The real question is, am I willing to think like the people who do? Because if you don't rewire your brain, if you don't condition your mind for clarity, if you don't dominate your doubts, then your thoughts will default to survival. And survival is not freedom. Survival is slavery. But thinking like a millionaire is war. A war against excuses. A war against the lazy part of you that wants to sleep when the future needs you to rise. A war against the voice that says, play small, when your soul screams, go bigger. And if you win that war, not once, but daily, you will not just earn riches, you will reclaim your throne. But a throne is not given. It is taken. Taken by force, by decision, by repetition. No king ever ruled his kingdom without first conquering his own chaos. And the greatest chaos lives inside your mind. Your habits are soldiers, your routines, your rituals. These are the battalions you command. And if they are weak, distracted, lazy, unfocused, then your empire will fall before it even rises. But if they are sharp, if you train your thoughts to march like warriors, then nothing, not time, not doubt, not fear, can stop what you build. You must understand this. The mind, when left alone,
does not default to greatness. It defaults to comfort, and comfort is the greatest sedative of the human spirit. It will lull you into mediocrity, into slavery, into a life that is safe but small, a life that never touches its own potential. Millionaires do not wait to feel inspired. They do not wait for the right time. They do not scroll for motivation. They generate it through action, through intention, through absolute unwavering clarity. Clarity is the compass of the rich. Vagueness is the poison of the poor. What do you want? Not what sounds good, not what looks cool on Instagram, but what burns in your gut when no one's watching. What vision calls to you at night and whispers, "This isn't it. You were made for more." Because if you can't define it, you can't achieve it. Andrew Carnegie once said, "The man who acquires the ability to take full possession of his own mind may take possession of anything else to which he is justly entitled." He didn't say some of his mind, not part-time belief, not half-hearted clarity. He said full possession, like a general seizing a city, like a lion claiming territory. And that possession begins the moment you stop negotiating with mediocrity, the moment you stop making your goals optional. You want wealth? Then stop renting your mind to fear. Your belief must become law, unquestioned, unshaken, non-negotiable. Because here is the brutal truth. You are always manifesting. Always, whether you like it or not. Every thought, every emotion, every focus is a command to your subconscious. And the universe does not respond to what you want. It responds to what you expect. Millionaires expect to win. Not arrogantly, not blindly, but because they have trained their thoughts to be soldiers of certainty. They don't hope to succeed. They assume success, and then back that assumption with discipline so brutal the world has no choice but to bow. And when the world doesn't, when failure comes anyway, they don't retreat, they revise, they recalibrate, they adapt. Because to think like a millionaire is not to think in perfection, it's to think in persistence. Walt Disney was told he lacked imagination. Can you believe that? Fired from a newspaper for,
And that vision owned him more than failure ever could. So he kept going, and now the world visits his thoughts. That's what thinking like a millionaire means. It means refusing to quit until your vision becomes reality. It means working while they party, reading while they sleep, rising when you don't feel like it, and speaking victory into the atmosphere even when all you see is defeat. It means choosing belief over fear, clarity over confusion, precision over noise. Because millionaires don't have more time. They use it differently. Millionaires don't get lucky. They build alignment. Millionaires don't wait for permission. They create opportunity. And when life gets heavy, they don't crumble. They double down. Because they know this is the test. And the test always comes before the transformation. So if you're tired of being average, if you're sick of wondering, what if you feel that fire deep inside that says, I was made for more, then it's time to stop thinking like a slave and start building your mind like a millionaire.
a millionaire mind is not just about wealth. It's about ownership. Ownership of thought. Ownership of emotion. Ownership of time. Ownership of response. Because when you truly own your mind, no one else can rent space in it. Not fear, not doubt, not the opinions of the mediocre. You become sovereign. But sovereignty is not inherited. It's earned. And the price is discipline, not just once, but daily. In the dark, in the grind, in the repetition that breaks most people. Because most people aren't broken by life. They're broken by inconsistency. They work hard for 3 days and wonder why the mountain hasn't moved. They speak positive affirmations for a week and expect their bank account to explode. But millionaires know the truth, that success compounds, slowly, silently, invisibly, and then, all at once. Like bamboo, growing underground for years, unseen, building roots so strong it can shoot up 90 feet in 6 weeks. But only after it's earned the foundation. The slave mind wants instant gratification. The millionaire mind is in love with delayed gratification. And that's what makes the difference. Because if you can't suffer for your vision, you don't deserve it. If you can't be loyal to your future, while your present is full of pressure and silence and solitude, then your dream was just a wish, not a mission. Think about it. Abraham Lincoln failed in business, failed in love, lost 8 elections, and yet through humiliation, heartbreak, and poverty, he still rose. Why? Because he had something deeper than motivation. He had vision. A picture so strong in his mind of who he was meant to become, it couldn't be silenced by failure. Millionaires do not move from emotion. They move from vision. They do not chase results. They chase alignment. So what is your vision? What image holds you hostage? What dream is so vivid it keeps you awake at night? What legacy is worth the pain? Because pain is part of it. Write this down. If there is no pain, there is no purchase. You want to buy your freedom? It will cost discomfort. You want to buy your greatness? It will cost rejection. You want to buy your destiny? It will cost the old version of you. The version that hides. The version that hesitates. The version that lives on autopilot, scrolling, comparing, numbing, delaying. The version cannot build empires. To think like a millionaire, you must kill the slave within. The inner servant who waits for permission. The inner coward who justifies procrastination. The inner victim who blames everything but their own habits. That self must die for the new self to rise. Because thoughts are not just things, they are architects. And they're building your life with or without your consent. So ask yourself, is your mind designing a palace or a prison? Is your daily dialogue with yourself shaping royalty or slavery? Because your life is a mirror. It reflects the dominant story you rehearse in your mind. Every belief, every repeated phrase, every mental image, that's the construction crew. That's the code being written to the script of your reality. You think small? Life responds with limitation. You think boldly? Life expands. You think like a millionaire? The world starts listening. But understand, the world doesn't believe your words. It believes your rituals. It believes your sacrifices. It believes your alignment. Because money follows value, and value follows clarity in motion. This is why you must act like you already are what you desire. You don't become a millionaire when the bank says so. You become it when your habits do. You don't need a title to be a leader. You don't need applause to be great. You don't need proof to believe. You need to act like you've already won. And keep going until the world agrees. That's millionaire thinking. That's the throne being claimed, one disciplined thought at a time. And when you begin to think this way, not occasionally, but relentlessly, you'll feel it. The shift. Not in your circumstances at first, but in your posture. In the way you walk into a room. In the way you look at your reflection and see someone becoming untouchable. You stop needing approval. You stop seeking validation. You stop asking, am I good enough? And start declaring, I'm exactly who I decided to be. Because that's what most people never understand. You don't need to feel worthy before you begin. You need to begin consistently until your actions prove you are. You don't fake it. You forge it.
The mind of a millionaire doesn't wait for worthiness. It creates it by doing the work, by showing up when the body says no, by doing the right thing when no one is watching, when no one is clapping, when no one sees the hours behind the glory. Because legacy isn't loud. It's carved in silence, behind closed doors, when discipline is the only witness. That's where wealth is born. Not just financial wealth, but internal wealth. The kind that can't be taxed, the kind that can't be stolen, the kind that doesn't rise and fall with the markets, because it's rooted in your identity. Millionaires don't just build bank accounts. They build character, courage, and clarity. They build resilience. Resilience is not just a trait. It's a decision to stand back up every single time the world tries to knock you into forgettable. It's Thomas Edison failing 1,000 times and still saying, "I didn't fail. I found ways that didn't work." It's Oprah being told she wasn't fit for television and still building a billion-dollar brand on authenticity and purpose. It's every person who ever had nothing but a dream and refused to quit. Not because they were sure they'd win, but because they decided losing wasn't an option. That's millionaire thinking. It's refusing to negotiate with weakness. It's deleting excuses like viruses from your operating system. It's rising every morning and rehearsing a new identity, one thought at a time. Because identity is not inherited, it's installed. Every time you act with discipline, you reinforce the new software. Every time you keep your word, even to yourself, you encode confidence. Every time you choose long-term vision over short-term relief, you evolve into someone unstoppable. That is how the world's most powerful individuals are built. Not overnight, not through luck, not from magic, but from mastery. Repeated, consistent, focused mastery of thought, behavior, and belief. They are not superhuman. They are simply committed. And commitment is more powerful than talent, more powerful than opportunity, more powerful than resources, because commitment finds a way. It bends the universe, it alters probability, it magnetizes people, strategies, mentors, miracles. But you must go first. You must act when it's inconvenient. You must persist when it feels pointless. You must rise when you're exhausted and grind when no one else understands what you're building. You must become loyal to the vision, even when reality doesn't match yet, because the mind of a millionaire sees beyond the current. It sees the invisible and makes it visible. That is your duty now, to trade your comfort for greatness, to trade your distractions for destiny, to trade your limitations for leadership. Because if you don't, if you keep thinking like the world taught you, then you will die a slave to other people's expectations. But if you make this decision today, to rewire your mind, to command your thoughts, to discipline your behavior like your life depends on it, then there is no limit to who you can become. No gate will hold you, no ceiling will contain you, no man will outrank you, because no one is more powerful than a human being who has fully taken control of their own mind. And when you realize that power, when it stops being an idea and becomes a daily weapon, everything changes. You stop reacting, you start responding, you stop chasing, you start attracting. You stop doubting, you start deciding. Because your external world is nothing but a reflection of your inner architecture. Your bank account, your relationships, your health, your influence, all of it mirrors what you believe you're worthy of, what you believe you can have, what you believe you can hold. Most people think success is complicated, but it's not. It's precise. They look for secrets. But the truth was never hidden. It was ignored. Control your thoughts, clarify your vision, act with discipline, persist until proven. That's it. But the simplicity is what makes it brutal, because you can't lie to yourself anymore. You can't hide behind complexity. You can't pretend you're stuck because of circumstances or people or timing. The only question that matters is, can you lead your own mind? Can you lead it when fear speaks louder than faith? Can you lead it when the crowd walks left and your dream calls you right? Can you lead it through hunger, through failure, through isolation, through darkness? Because that is the price. Every kingdom you admire was built in silence before it was built in stone. Look at Nelson Mandela, 27 years in a prison cell. He didn't just survive. He forged himself into the kind of man who would one day lead a nation. No luxury, no applause, just vision, belief, and unbreakable discipline. That's the mind of a millionaire, not in currency, but in courage. The currency of kings is not just money, it's self-command. It's the ability to say no to temptation, yes to pressure, and always to the voice inside that whispers, keep going. You think Elon Musk works 100 hours a week because he has to? No. He's a billionaire who's still obsessed with progress, still in love with pressure, still hungry. Because the fire inside him isn't based on money, it's based on meaning. The mind of a millionaire doesn't ask, how much can I get? It asks, how far can I go? And that is why they rise. That is why they multiply. That is why the universe expands around them, because they think like creators, not consumers. They think like forces, not followers. They think in impact, not in escape. You must do the same. You must train your mind to see time as currency, to see discomfort as fuel, to see resistance as training, to see rejection as refinement. Because nothing in this world is wasted unless your mind tells you it is. Every failure is feedback. Every delay is development. Every no is a necessary wall that redirects you to the right gate. But only if you've decided in advance that nothing will stop you. Write that down. Tattoo it on your soul. I will not be stopped. Say it out loud. Feel it shake your ribs. Let it become your war cry. Not if it's meant to be, it will be. No. If I mean it, I will make it. That's the difference. The slave waits for favor. The millionaire moves with fire. So if your dream feels far right now, if your goal feels heavy, if the world feels indifferent, good. That means the test has begun. That means the game is real. That means you have a chance right now to become who most people never do. And not someday, now, today, this hour. Millionaire thinking doesn't begin with money. It begins with mastery. And mastery begins with the moment you choose to no longer be owned by your thoughts, but to own them, to command them, to weaponize them into results so real the world can no longer ignore your name. And if you can do that, not once, but again and again, every morning, every night, every decision, every delay, every sacrifice, then you will not just become rich. You will become limitless. You think Elon Musk works 100 hours a week because he has to? No. He's a billionaire who's still obsessed with progress, still in love with pressure, still hungry. Because the fire inside him isn't based on money, it's based on meaning. The mind of a millionaire doesn't ask,
how much can I get? It asks, how far can I go? And that is why they rise. That is why they multiply. That is why the universe expands around them, because they think like creators, not consumers. They think like forces, not followers. They think in impact, not in escape. You must do the same. You must train your mind to see time as currency, to see discomfort as fuel, to see resistance as training, to see rejection as refinement. Because nothing in this world is wasted unless your mind tells you it is. Every failure is feedback. Every delay is development. Every no is a necessary wall that redirects you to the right gate. But only if you've decided in advance that nothing will stop you. Write that down. Tattoo it on your soul. I will not be stopped. Say it out loud. Feel it shake your ribs. Let it become your war cry. Not if it's meant to be, it will be. No. If I mean it, I will make it. That's the difference. The slave waits for favor. The millionaire moves with fire. So if your dream feels far right now, if your goal feels heavy, if the world feels indifferent, good. That means the test has begun. That means the game is real. That means you have a chance right now to become who most people never do. And not someday, now, today, this hour. Millionaire thinking doesn't begin with money. It begins with mastery. And mastery begins with the moment you choose to no longer be owned by your thoughts, but to own them, to command them, to weaponize them into results so real the world can no longer ignore your name. And if you can do that, not once, but again and again, every morning, every night, every decision, every delay, every sacrifice, then you will not just become rich. You will become limitless. But to become limitless, you must destroy what limits you. And it's not your background. It's not your past. It's not your resources. It's the thoughts you've allowed to live rent-free in your mind for far too long. Thoughts like, I'm not ready, I'm not good enough. What if I fail? What if they laugh? What if I lose everything? Burn them. Burn them the way the greats burned their bridges to comfort, the way Cortez burned his ships so retreat wasn't an option. That's what commitment looks like. That's what total belief feels like. That's what it takes to stop being owned by your doubts and start owning your outcome. Because millionaire thinking doesn't just remove excuses, it exterminates them. It doesn't tolerate self-pity. It doesn't entertain delay. It doesn't flirt with distraction. It eliminates weakness like a surgeon with a blade. You can't think like a millionaire and live like a slave. You can't speak abundance and walk in scarcity. You can't pray for success and serve your fears at the same time. You must choose, and once chosen, act in a way that proves it. When Andrew Carnegie was asked about the key to his fortune, he didn't list investments or inventions. He said, "The man who cannot control himself can never control others." He understood the eternal law. Self-mastery precedes world mastery. If you cannot govern your own mind, how can you ever govern your destiny? You must become your own CEO, not just in business, but in thought. You must lead yourself as if your life were a multi-billion-dollar enterprise. Because it is. The ROI on your focus, your time, your thoughts, it's higher than any stock you'll ever invest in. And yet most people treat their mind like a thrift store, letting anyone and anything walk in, rearrange it, cheapen it. But you, if you're going to rise, must guard your mental environment like it's sacred. Because it is. That is where your future is being built. Every belief you rehearse is a brick. Every excuse you repeat is a crack. Every time you choose fear over faith, you weaken the foundation.
But every time you choose to move forward, when it's hard, when it's heavy, when it's hopeless, that's when you grow unshakable. That's when the world starts to respond. Because life doesn't give you what you want, it gives you who you are. So if you want more, you have to become more. Not by luck, not by birth, not by wish, but by design. The design of your thoughts, the architecture of your focus, the strength of your discipline. Think like a millionaire, and the money, the influence, the freedom, it will follow. Not as a favor, but as a byproduct, a natural consequence of living in alignment with greatness. You are not born to be average. You are not born to survive the system. You were born to bend the system to your will. But that doesn't happen by dreaming. That happens by deciding. It happens when your vision becomes non-negotiable, when your mornings become sacred, when your distractions become enemies, when your rituals become laws. That's how empires are built. That's how legends are born. That's how kings rise. And hear me, no matter how long you've lived like a servant to fear, to self-doubt, to mediocrity, the moment you decide to master your mind, you take back the throne. Because kings are not crowned, they are carved. In silence, in repetition, in fire. And you, if you've heard this message in your bones, if your spirit is stirred and your blood is rising and your eyes are opening, then now is the time to pick up the blade and cut the old self loose. Because a new one is waiting. A version of you that doesn't flinch. A version of you that doesn't bow. A version of you that doesn't beg. A version of you that builds. Builds with thought. Builds with focus. Builds with unbreakable belief.